Hey everyone, welcome. Big day in court, Karen retrial. Big night tonight, Young Jerks. 5:30, we got Jessica Machado. At 7, a new stream with attorney Mark Betterow. So definitely come back and check that out tonight too. Two shows tonight. Um, Jessica, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
I don't even know where to begin, but I guess we should begin about the craziness around what happened yesterday at
Sure.
court, that the video that Aiden put out,
Yeah.
and the ongoing controversy about the clown show.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I'll be honest with you. 5 years ago, I was much more edgy online, pretty vocal about any political or in my own community. I kind of made a name for myself for being really outwardly aggressive on Facebook, using choice language, and really just not caring and giving my opinion about things that I felt passionate about. And I had to really tone that down. I got feedback from people that said your message was great, but the way that you say it is not. And so for the past couple of years, I've really been cognizant of that. And so I think what people see right now is a more professional version of me. I work for a company. I worry about their revenue. I worry about their, since I've started covering Aiden's case and Karen's case, I think, and, I'm willing to take, observations from other people that I just feel are testing my person a good, like,
Tube and all these other
all
places.
right. I mean, let's just say if this camera was off, I would be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to this. I've really hit my limit. I'm super angry about what's been going on. I'm really mad about it, actually, considering I've tried to warn people about Grant and his behavior. This is a months long situation that I have tried to get help with, and people have not helped me. And I'm not a victim here, but I mean, I've used the tools in front of me. I've sent emails to the court. I have spoken to people at the courthouse. I have documented everything, and why his behavior continues to be ignored while it accelerates and gets worse by the day is just beyond me. And so I'm really angry about it right now because I don't think I ever should have been in that situation yesterday. And I think that, while yesterday, I think maybe while I was there, I was like, okay, listen, maybe I'm not mad about the courts not doing anything. Today, I'm feeling differently. Today, I'm like, why hasn't anybody stepped in to stop this type of behavior? So I'm sure everybody who's watching here has already seen it or heard it, but I went. I don't know how much you want me to get into it, Mike, but I went there on Sunday on Mother's Day to get my space in line. I've witnessed that all it takes is a chair to hold your spot. I've watched countless videos. I've seen people talking from there. I've seen Grant, leave his chair empty. I've had people there tell me that people's chairs are there with their names on it and they're empty. The night that prior to this, someone told me Grant was in his car from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. So his chair was not occupied. So we are obviously in the position where chairs are placeholders. And I don't get to go all the time. It's not in my schedule. I can't always go. And my boss and I had decided that Monday would be the day. We knew it was going to be great testimony with Brian Albert. I wanted to be there, but I wasn't willing to risk it all and just show up late. You know what I mean? So I went on Mother's Day in the morning. I put my chair there. I was first in line. I was super excited about it. I documented it. I took video and photo. I stayed for about an hour in my car, but like adjacent to the courthouse. And then I left. And this guy has the audacity to just move my chair and just doesn't think that I deserve to be number one. You know what I mean? And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like the real issue here is Grant didn't like that I was there ahead of him. That's it. If this were somebody else, NBC, if it were Ted Daniel, he would have never done this. And the main reason for that is because those companies, they have money. They have lawyers, they have attorneys, they have people that can protect their people. He knows that I'm not part of an outlet like that. And so I'm vulnerable. And so is Aiden, for example. So that's why we're the targets. Some of those people may not agree with him, but they're never going to be his target because he's afraid of them and the bigger outlets. So he targets me, he targets Aiden, he targets other soft, targets like that. And then he really tries to like manipulate the system and act out like a crazy person. He charged at me. He pushed me multiple times. He pushed his body up against me. He had his hand on my back. And Aiden did not start recording that, Mike, until it was well underway. Yesterday, I spoke with the chief of the courts there. I went downstairs to speak with him. He told me he viewed the video surveillance that Norfolk has on site. I'm not going to get into exactly everything that was said, but his exact words to me were, "Your husband would be really proud about how you handled that situation." I am very confident that I never touched Grant. I never made any aggressive moves towards him. I did not put my hands on him. In that video, he's saying I was touching him as my hand was holding my phone and my laptop. There was no way I could physically touch him. And to watch him say it, it shows like the level of crazy and complete disconnect from like reality. Because he's so unstable, I really did think for a minute there he was going to hit me. And I just panicked, like I screamed. I said that the video is cringe of me screaming, but like in the moment, I really felt scared.
I've known Grant for quite a while, and so many of us that know him, have known him for years, are frightened of him and
Right,
looking at his behavior getting worse and worse and knowing doing anything about it, including his family.
right.
I just want to give, I think most, obviously, I never like to dumb it down because I know most people are like me. They already know what's going on. So we get right to it. But there are a lot of new people now, especially with Karen Reed, and they've been hitting me up and they're kind of frustrated. We don't break it down a little more. This
Okay.
is the press line. We're talking about the Karen Reed trial. There's a press line, and I'm pissed off actually about the way this is being run by the courts because it excludes me. I have a bad back. I have a business, so I have multiple reasons why I cannot be sleeping on the fucking corner. Like,
Right,
please, I would
right,
love to be able to get there for one day, a half a day.
right.
I'm not registering because there's no reason to register because I am automatically excluded with their system. And there's so many people like me. We should have a lawsuit against them because handicapped people are being excluded. Like a
Mm,
handicapped person cannot sleep outside. You
right.
cannot do it. Someone has, all kinds of issues, medical issues. This is like unreasonable to do that to people. And the court is not actually doing anything about it to alleviate the situation. It could be a lottery. They see the craziness with Grant Smith Ellis, who basically got drummed out of the cannabis space because he tried to, in my opinion, create a cannabis social equity extortion ring. And it seems like he's trying to do the same thing with this press line. Everywhere he goes, he tries to control and tries to use it to his advantage. And it's right in line with his MO all the time. And it's disgusting that the court lets this go on. And I just want to say, you're a hero in this, Jessica. Like you must have heard from so many people because the last couple of years, Grant has burned hundreds of people. Like some of the worst things that you can do to people, Grant has done them. Have you heard from a lot of people like about the situation that you've never heard from about Grant?
I wish I had known a little bit more about the history of Grant that you're speaking of prior to like my first interactions with him, because number one, I was pretty naive. And number two, a lot of his behaviors, I sympathized with him because on the surface, he looks unwell. And so my initial reaction, just as the human that I am, was there's something not quite right with him. And so instead of taking a proactive stance against Grant, I was more on the defensive. And, my first interaction with him, I'll never forget, was at a hearing for Aiden. And he was kind in person. I made a space for him. I moved over, I shook his hand. And that very day he was on Twitter and he was like talking disparagingly about me. And it didn't connect to me that like face to face, it looked okay. But then later on, he was so mean. I wish I had known about his history. And as far as, people reaching out, first of all, I can't really say how, I would say, comforting it has been to see the majority of people say that they understood the circumstance that I was in and sympathize with it. There are a lot of people that have been messaging me. I didn't watch the video or Aiden's post until later on yesterday. I tried to put up a really strong front yesterday, and I was also trying to focus on my job. I wanted to be there. I wanted to focus on the testimony and do my job. And I think when I got home, I just kind of like broke down a little bit. It was just very mentally exhausting. And again, I started to feel like, why am I in this position? So yes, I saw a lot of the comments. The majority of them were, against Grant's behavior. People think it's despicable. A lot of people saying they need to take action. I mean, the police department did ask me if I wanted to press charges. I said unequivocally, yes. He needs to be held accountable for putting his hands and body on a member of the media, but also a woman. I mean, I'm not a feminist by any stretch of the imagination, but men touching women is just like, it's never happened to me. I've never had a man put his hands on me. I've never had to go to the police. I've never had a relationship where someone has physically pushed me. I just think that it was pretty interesting that he thought he could do that. And it seems like he's very empowered to do that. And I think that's because nobody acts against him. So my plan is to move forward with this. I'm confident that the video at Norfolk Superior will demonstrate him pushing me and putting his body on me. I'm confident it will not show that I did that. I never touched him. And then after that, I think it's time to explore, some sort of protection order, which, I don't like how those things are loosely interpreted. We see the situation with Aiden all the time. I've had my own experience with HBOs and how I don't think that they work, or how sometimes they're granted for the right reason. In this particular instance, I need some sort of protection from this guy who continues to elevate his behavior towards me. And I did send to you, Mike. I have never posted that, but I did send an email out in February about my interactions with Grant. I sent it to the courthouse, so the SJC that issued my press pass for courts. And I was asking for guidance. I was basically like, I need some help. Like, if somebody could just explain to me what's happening, how to handle Grant. Are there any things written specifically about decorum and behavior in regards to the press while they're in your courtrooms? And can you give me any advice in case I encounter this behavior with him again? And nobody ever responded.
It's unbelievable. And you also shared another email you received from somebody in the press that
Yes.
also, we're not going to name them, but there are other people that you're standing up for. Just like Sue O'Connell spoke up this week too against it. Two women. I love it. The women always kick ass.
Mm,
And I know Sue. Sue's a leader. Like, I know, like, I don't really know her personally, but I know who she is. I know where she comes from. I was friends with friends of hers, and
mhm.
she definitely, like, I know she's speaking up for other people in the press, and you are too. Like, there are other people that have been harassed by this guy and, like, uncomfortable, and it's affecting the workplace, isn't it?
Mhm.
Like, it's not just you. You're standing up for other people on this, aren't you?
Like I said, I wanted to kind of like change my behaviors from the past and not be so outgoing when it comes to things, and maybe just focus on the work. But I'm also learning my role, and I'm new to this. There's no training to be a reporter. I'm new. So I wanted to make sure I was doing everything right. I met Sue very early on in one of the Karen Reed early pretrial hearings. Very kind and very nice to me. I should mention two things. The first, I covered a murder trial here in Fall River a couple of weeks ago. There were other members of the press in there, just two other ones, but there's nothing like what is going on with Karen Reed covering another murder trial. So same circumstance, two men were killed, right? But a totally different situation. Total decorum, just a very different circumstance what's going on here. And when you look at the bigger picture here, I think some people are critical of this, right? I saw some comments and people saying you guys are making this into a circus. You're not helping Karen. You're making this look like a fiasco out there. The reason that's happening is because the allegations of corruption at a police level, at a state police level, are what cause people to pay attention to this case. It's not me or the reporters that are there, or even per se Grant, for example. It is the essence of what this trial is about, which is somebody who was essentially framed for murder. I believe that. I'll continue to report the facts, but as a person, I believe Karen was framed. I think that is what is making this a circus. These things are a part of it. but that's why we're all here. That's why there are so many people here. That's why there's so many people outside. There's more press. It's the case. It's not us doing it. Now, Grant's behavior is absolutely crazy, and I believe if you remove Grant, even if I were there, even if we're Aiden were there, I still feel it would be absolutely perfect. I don't think there would be anything wrong with the interactions there. He is the catalyst for all of that. And I also should
And let's
mention,
just put it this way too, like, because people, like you said, the people trying to say you're making a circus. I heard that feedback about
Mhm,
you and Aiden on this, and I was just like, no, like, actually, they're sticking up for me. Like, the fact that lottery is brought up actually gives me an opportunity maybe to show up at court on a
right,
Friday afternoon. So, like, that's what people are missing, that you're actually speaking up for other people and yourself. And nobody, Aiden, yourself, nobody needs clicks on this shit. You
right.
don't want this to happen at all. You just want to get your space in line and be able to cover the trial, and you're being blocked by this crazy asshole. And that's the issue. And it's not you're making a circus. You're trying to do your friggin' job. You're not trying to create a circus at all. Like, the circus is already here. You're here to cover the circus. You're not trying to make, I mean, it's so obvious to me because I know what's
I
going on
can't tell
here,
you how
but
excited
I
I
don't,
was to
yeah,
be there. I'm
exactly.
so excited to be there. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. I was so excited when I got there when there was only one chair. I mean, no chairs. I was the first chair. I was like so excited. He sucked that happiness out of that. You know what I mean? And I'm not
Yeah,
like gonna put that, I'm not gonna give him that. But the reality is he's taking something that is exciting and new and for him to ruin it, really. Ted Daniel approached me in the courtroom the day this occurred, once we got into the courtroom. And he did approach me. And I won't say everything that he said, but he did say that he supports something being done about Grant being removed. And he said it should not happen. It has been a disaster. I'm paraphrasing, since he has been there, and that he would support getting on board with something to have him removed. So, my plan is to get a restraining order against, I'm an HPO. My boss so I met with my boss today, right? And, photo reporter, small company. I met with him today. He wanted to talk to me about everything that occurred yesterday. My boss is an amazing human being. He said, take tomorrow and spend your time going to the police department, getting a copy of your police report, getting the past stuff together, and go to Dedham District Court and get an HPO against this guy. He also wanted me to go and I don't know if you had heard this. I had them sending Chinese food to my house on Sunday night. I had this other guy who's part of this group of people.
I
He
wouldn't talk about
linked it.
him today. Yeah,
Yeah, he linked a video today that is just absolutely horrendous. Um, and so, yeah, my boss is like, you know what? If you don't handle these people, if you don't take every action that you can, you're allowing them to continue. I saw someone in the comments say you're enabling them. 100%. We just enable him. And I don't know if it's because people are too busy or don't have the time. My boss is giving me the time to handle it. And I plan on taking full advantage of that.
absolutely. And I would do the HBO on Grant as soon as possible because he'll try to pull one on you. I know he will.
Yeah.
The thing about it too is like you're already leading because Grant. My sources that keep tabs on Grant. I got people within the cannabis space that keep an eye on him, know
Hmm.
him, and they're telling me that he wasn't in court today because he's afraid of getting served. He doesn't want to get served
He
publicly,
should
and
be.
he
He
may
should
not
be afraid.
be there tomorrow too. So like you're standing up to him is already given a lot of journalists a little breathing room. You know what I mean? So it's like, thank you for.
You're
And we don't
welcome.
need that circus. Like nobody needs that circus right now. It's like
Let's
I
just
feel
give it
bad
a
for the
day,
guy.
Mike, right?
Yeah,
Mike, give it like 1 or 2 days without him there and let everybody realize the difference in the atmosphere. Let everybody recognize it's peaceful. It could be more fun. It could be relaxing. Like, why do we have to continue to be subjected to this? Like, it's so confrontational. It's like unstable. So, yeah, I mean, if he's, and I'm glad you told me that, if he is avoiding going there because he doesn't want to be publicly shamed with getting served, I love that for me. I love that for everybody. He will get served. He is going to be charged.
So we're talking about Grant Smith Ellis, the craziness, and I feel bad, honestly. Like it's weird for me because sometimes I feel bad for people, but then I don't because I know what he's done to people. It's just horrible.
It's my
But
husband.
I feel like he's decompensating. Hi, husband. I feel like he's like a lot of us that have known him for a while. It seems like he's getting worse and worse and spiraling. It's like,
I can't be
man,
sympathetic to somebody who's attacking me
no,
anymore.
I get it. I get it. You got, yeah,
There's
especially at
no
this
way.
point. Yeah,
I
you
mean,
have
there's a video literally of
it's
him
affecting your work.
accusing me of inappropriately touching him.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. I
Yep.
cannot be sympathetic. I
Oh,
can't be
I
reactive
totally
anymore. It's
understand that.
proactive.
Yeah. I totally with you on that. Like
Yeah.
I just personally watching him, it's like this is why tough love. Like even if you have sympathy for Grant, he needs tough love right now because he's never going to learn unless he has some something happen back at him because this stuff is getting out of control. Like it just
Well, something did happen. I mean, he put his hands on a female.
exactly.
That's it. I mean, how much worse can it really get? I mean,
It can. That's what I'm worried about. I think like honestly, like people have been wanting me, like my like that know him that have said, Mike, I think something really bad is going to happen. Like it just because he is getting worse and worse and worse. And you're right. Like to me, watching that video, if a woman tells me to step back and I'm touching her, I say I freaking leave. I'm like, I won't be a half mile within. You know what I mean? Like
right.
it's just crazy.
And that video
And you
didn't
know
show
it's
the
being
whole thing.
filmed, and then Turtle Boy is the one filming you
And
with a
it wasn't
calm
the whole
voice.
thing. It
Yeah.
wasn't even the whole thing. I mean,
Mm.
Aiden didn't turn that camera on until he had already pushed me. I did not know there were cameras out front. It was someone else there that pointed it out, and I'm very thankful they're there. But yeah, I mean, this is it for me. You know what I mean? Like I was the sympathy feeling person in the beginning. I do feel badly for people like Grant, but I've said this before on your show and with Brian. There is something deliberate about what he chooses to do. He is an antagonist. He wants to get people upset. He wants to lie. He deliberately lies. He took a moment where he accosted me, and because he knew he was going to get in trouble, started to lie about that. He started to accuse me of touching him inappropriately. He started saying, "How dare you?" Why? Because he knew he was screwed. He knew he got caught. He knew he did something he shouldn't have done. And then to be the victim, he is disabled. I touched him. How dare I? You're a rapist. I mean, every trick in the book, he pulled it out of his bag because he knew that he was screwed. And you know what? Let the courts decide. Let people start holding him accountable. You and I don't have to do that. I do wish the courts had listened to the complaints and I know I'm not the only person that sent an email about him. And I guess Karens send email, and how effective are they? But I documented in this email that I was concerned about this accelerating. I was concerned about his behavior directed towards me. He made a sexual connotation with his face. He looked at my breasts. He winked. He made a kissy face. A woman who I didn't even know observed it, who connected with me and was like, I can, witness this for you if you need to. What more do I need? I've already been sexually harassed. I mean, I consider this a workplace, right? An extension of my
Exactly. It's your
workplace.
workplace. That's
Right.
the thing that really and to F with women in the workplace.
Sure.
Like Grant, supposedly a liberal. Like this is the I don't want to go on and on about Grant, but I will say the lying is not surprising to people who know, I mean, he told people I killed my friend. Like,
Right.
I
I
mean, like,
remember.
yeah, like he's done way crazy stuff like that over and over to so many people. I don't want to speak on everyone's stories, so that's why I'm not going to drop them all. But
Yeah.
that's the type of stuff he's done a lot in the cannabis community. So we're not surprised. I'm glad you're taking action. I'm glad he's not there. I hope he gets some help. Seriously, I hope the dude bottoms out.
I don't care about
Yeah.
him at
I
all.
know
I
you
don't
don't.
care if he
I
gets
know you.
help. I don't care about anything. I hope that he gets held accountable legally for what he's doing.
I
I
hope
hope
that too.
I
I think
hope
that's
that
the
he
only
gets
way he can get
charged.
help. Yeah.
And I don't know if he has a criminal record, but I
No,
hope
he
that
doesn't.
he doesn't. Well, this will be the first.
Yeah.
and let it be that way. He cannot, people can't act this way. It's 2024. You cannot touch a woman. You cannot touch people in public. You can't, I mean, and I'm not going to get down this path too. We live in Massachusetts, right? You've seen what's going on in New York. People can hit people, punch them on the street. Nobody's held accountable. I mean, maybe people get fatigued and don't want to follow up with it. I am tenacious. I will follow this as far as I can. If I have to write 1,000 emails, I will. This is why, yesterday you asked me, Mike, if I wanted to do this. And I think I needed to sleep on it. I feel like if I don't say anything, if I don't say that I'm going to fight back, it's going to perpetuate the behavior. And
No,
if
you're
it's not
right.
me,
You're
it's someone
absolutely
else.
right. I mean, that's what I did when he pulled all the shit in the cannabis community. I took a hit. Like a lot of people thought I was the problem for over a
Mm,
year. And then he did it to them and they figured it out. So,
right.
and then they all came to me, because I was the one telling everyone, dude, this dude is effed in the head. Like
Yeah.
so, I mean, I think he needs to be held accountable. I try to hold him accountable in the cannabis space. He needs it. He desperately needs it. And I'm glad you're taking it to the next level. I still think even if Grant goes away, like this comment, I think there should be a lottery. This is excluding people from being able to be a part of the press there. So I hope they do a lottery no matter what. Like this is ridiculous that this situation even happened in the first place.
I'm not confident that they're going to do that. When I was
I'm not
speaking,
either. I
yeah,
don't
when I
think
was
they will.
speaking with the
They
chief.
can't even deal with Grant. Like they're being
Oh, well, so I talked to the chief that was there, or the assistant chief that day, or yesterday rather, and it was the essence of what he was saying was exactly what they ended up doing. We're just going to take this away from the courthouse and move it to the street. So now you can't line up there.
even
You're going to go
worse.
on the street,
Yeah, that's
and
even worse. Like
it's under
that's
the jurisdiction of now the Dedham Police Department.
talks about passing the buck. You created this problem and now you're going to pass the buck to the street. Like that is such loser shit.
I don't know what like past trials, like what was Aaron Hernandez like? Like I don't know if there was the same type of situation. I really do believe that the missing link is Grant, and that's what has made it change. I think people could have come to some sort of understanding and still been competitive, you know. But I agree that something needs to be done. I just don't think it will be. I think it's going to
Exactly.
be continue to be get there first come first serve. But again, so now like let's look at this. It's gone from Norfolk Superior down to the sidewalk, right? The sidewalk has no rules. There is no entity that is going to say you can't put a placeholder, you can't put a chair, you can't put a cooler, you can't pop a tent. There's no like, I mean, maybe they have some bylaws and whatnot, but I think there's even less restrictions there. You know what I mean? So who's going to say that if I go and put a chair right now like that, it can't stay overnight? I don't know. I don't want to compete that way. Not because I don't have an edge like some other people do. I think the goal is to be in there and report. And I think everybody would be happy to be in there and report. This is live streamed. We can watch it on a computer. So if you're in one day and you're out the next, and then you're in the next
Exactly.
day,
They could get everyone in if they just
yeah,
did a like we said, a little lottery system, or just assign people. Just say we got 15 people, so
yep,
13 the first day, whatever it is, and just figure it out, schedule it, and it would be easy. I don't get why they
yeah.
have to be so difficult and so like it's 1842. That's the way
Mhm.
they act. It's like, come on, get with modern times. We actually have disabled people. We have mothers. We have people that have other businesses like I do that do this on the side too. Like
Mm,
we don't have unlimited hours to sleep
right,
on the street. Like give me a break. Like only ones who can do that is someone like Grant, or like someone like Aiden that has 1 million followers,
right,
or somebody that is in the corporate media. I mean, you're
right.
limiting all the other people that just don't have those resources and that are often part of the media, especially independent. Well, it's ridiculous. I'm so glad that you've brought this up and you're fighting it and standing strong. I also wanted to ask you, because you have been in court,
Yes.
what we don't see is what you mentioned, the jury. What have you been seeing? Like what does this jury look like, first of all?
Um, so I mean, I don't have a problem saying this. I should let you know if anybody has followed Grant, which I don't, and I'm not pivoting over to Grant again, but he did put some sort of a complaint out on his Facebook that my description of the jury was not appropriate. And I will be saying to you for the first time that I did receive an email from Jen Donahue at Norfolk Superior today. She told me that she was alerted to my tweets or my X posts, and that the Massachusetts State Police is investigating them. So I found out about that this afternoon. I got that
Wait, so
email.
you're being investigated by the state police for your tweets about the
Yes,
jury? What?
yes, yes,
This
yeah.
this is the grant snitching to the oh my god. This continues. This is the same shit they were trying to do to me and they've been doing to Aiden and
Yeah. So I don't know what that looks like, right? I mean, I found that out maybe this afternoon around like 1 o'clock, and got into a little bit of panic mode, right? Obviously, I know where it comes from. I saw Grant post about it. It's clearly obvious that this was what
and what
he.
is his criticism? What did he
So
think he
yeah,
went
so
too
let me
far
get
without
into that.
saying it?
So when I was in the courtroom on the first day, I was observing jurors and tweeting a little bit about what I was seeing with their expressions and things. And I saw from comments that that's clearly what people wanted to hear about on Twitter. So you can watch it there. You can see Yannetti, you can see the witness, but you can't see what I can see, which are
The
the
jury.
jurors, the reactions of maybe the families and how they're interacting with each other. And so I thought that was my little niche, and I was going to start like talking about that. And so I started yesterday. There was a lull in, I thought, testimony. And at that moment, I said, let's take a look at the jurors. So it's broken up in 2 rows. I don't, the number exactly, I don't know, but I was basically going through, I started with one juror, the fourth juror, whether she's number 4, but where she sits in my mind, she's fourth. And she was locked in on Brian Albert. She would not take her eyes off of him. Even when Jackson was speaking, even when Lally was speaking, and everybody else's faces in the jury were looking at the podium where the lawyer was speaking, her face was the only one still looking at Brian Albert. And I found that to be so fascinating. And I think she was just looking for the off moments that he was not actually answering a question, to see his behavior. It was fascinating to watch her do this. And ultimately, she ended up giving me one of the best, like, not me, but I observed what I thought was one of the best reactions from a juror, which was when they were trying to get him to talk about whether he answered the phone from Higgins or he called Higgins. And it was that moment where Jackson really kind of put him on the spot. And it was obvious to us that he had answered the phone, right, from Higgins, because there was a 17-second lull or what have you. She smiled and then she laughed. And in that moment, I felt that juror completely understands how crazy this is, that there's somebody else that answered this phone and that it wasn't a butt dial. And so I was tweeting about that, but I was also saying this woman reminds me of Dr. Melfi from The Sopranos. She doesn't really look like her, but she reminds me of her. And then I said another juror reminded me of Fraser Crane's wife from Cheers. It's just kind of like, so I could keep track of them, and also so my readers could keep track of who I was talking about, just kind of building the visual of what I was looking at. And apparently that may be a violation. We obviously are prohibited from taking photos. We can't communicate with jurors. We don't look at them when they pass by us. We can't speak to them. We're just wallpaper there. You know what I mean? And I would never do that. I've never done that. Didn't do it in any of the cases I covered in Fall River, never taken photos. But he's saying that some of that was potentially a conflict or an issue because I was trying to dox them. But I mean, in no other way can I say it. It was other than me just trying to give a visual description of what I was witnessing.
Exactly. You weren't
Um,
given their names. You weren't
I don't
given
know
much
their names.
information.
I don't
Yeah.
know what they drive.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
where they're even coming from. I don't know how
Exactly.
they get into the courthouse.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
Yeah.
I just know that they're in there, and I was just trying to give the reader a better understanding of what they were saying. But I did receive an email from Jen Donahue. I can read it to you if you want. It says,
I think the problem they're going after is this, which comment was the physical descriptions are a no-no. But I think that's a fine line too. I mean, you're not telling people information to try to dox people. You're just trying to say,
So I
this is what
wasn't.
I'm watching. Yeah.
And if somebody had said, you can't do that, I would have stopped.
Yeah.
Again, no formal training. And also, there were plenty of other people in that box that don't have formal training and maybe
Exactly.
have more experience.
You have no intention of doing that. I mean,
It
that's
was not what I was trying to do. My
yep.
email said recent posts on X in which you described the jurors in the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed trial have been brought to my attention. This matter has been turned over to the state police for investigation. Jennifer Donahue.
She doesn't. Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And she still doesn't give you any advice. Like, what a
No.
clown
So that
show. What a
that
clown show.
actually, I called the courthouse as soon as I got home. I was meeting with my boss. I came home. I called Norfolk Superior. I asked for her. She wasn't there. I spoke with the clerk. I said, I received this email. Here's what my biggest concern was. Should I take the tweets down?
Yeah,
Like, are they doing any harm? Should I remove the tweets?
yeah,
Because if they're an issue, I can retain them. I'll screenshot them. I'll give them an opportunity to do it, but let me remove them if you think that they're doing some harm. And the clerk said she didn't know.
yeah.
She did give me Jen Donahue's personal cell phone number, and she said, I suggest you call Jen Donahue. Gave me her cell phone
And this
number.
is the say. Did she refer any of the stuff to the state police about Grant?
I would not know.
Jennifer, the same Jennifer O'Donnell. This is a comment. The same Jennifer Donahue that didn't take your safety concerns seriously.
I mean, I guess if I'm playing devil's advocate, the media aren't her concern. The jurors and the proceeds that go on inside are. I mean, if I'm thinking of it that way, I don't know. I called her cell phone. She did
You know
not
what? I'm
answer.
not buying it. They make you register. They're in charge. They have a responsibility. They set this fiasco up. So to me, they have a legal and ethical and moral responsibility to not put people in harm's way unnecessarily for no good reason when you could just do a lottery because you're
Right.
too friggin' lazy to try to get with the 2024 timeframe. Like, we're in a year where we don't accept this. You're excluding people. Like, that's just BS. And
Mm.
there's safety issues now because they created this clown show. And so Jennifer Donahue, you're a joke. You're snitching for Grant. You're like, this is ridiculous. They're going after reporters and you're putting people like Jessica in harm. I'm not happy with Jennifer Donahue.
I mean, I wish that, I got some additional information, but I did leave a message
Yeah, and
and said,
she doesn't even give you any. Yeah, exactly. Like, what is like? She should have given you some feedback too. Like,
the gentleman that I dealt with yesterday, the assistant chief that was there, and I can't remember his name, and the main court officer who is there all the time, everybody I'm sure knows who I'm talking about, were fantastic, by the way. Those guys were properly sympathetic, but also firm. They were comforting. They made sure, well, I can tell you, the court officer told me Grant would never touch you inside this courthouse. They would be on him in 2 seconds. He would never do what he did outside when nobody was there in front of any of those guys because they would have handled it. I've met Jen in passing. She knew who I was. One day she caught me off guard. She said, "Hi, Jessica." I've passed her a couple of times. She was very pleasant and kind, but my first original email was not to Jen. It was to the SJC because they are who issued my press license. So I went to them first. But I know other people have made complaints or sent emails and just nothing has been done. But my tweets, I am worried that I maybe did something inadvertently that I shouldn't have done. I came home and had a moment and I was like, did I fuck up? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Now I have somebody that works in a different courthouse. I asked their take on it and they said it is not a violation. I think if it were, they would have told me to immediately remove them and take these down. I mean,
exactly.
somebody sent me a message today and was like, can you imagine if Michael Proctor shows up at your house? And it's like, I got to investigate you. And I'm like, this is just so, I kind of had a moment
Yeah,
where I fucked up and I didn't know. I really just didn't
I
know.
wouldn't worry about it. If something happens, you got like Mark Randazza probably would help you. And the other members of the media. I would next time you're in court, I would share that with Sue O'Connell and all the other Ted Daniel. I would say this happened to be guys. I would definitely let them know. Maybe they put you on TV, because
No,
this.
we're not supposed to be the story, Mike. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, but
It's
you're
like,
a
tell the story,
correspondent
don't be the
telling a
story.
story. I mean, this is the story.
Mm.
They're now harassing journalists. I mean, this is a big part of the Karen Reed story. They harassed Turtle Boy. They harassed me. I mean, I had to find an attorney.
Mm,
Like, and they didn't even come here. Like,
right,
just through the threats that they were sending through those same people, like the
right,
same people, the little confidential informants, right to Tully.
right,
You better call me so you can talk to Tully. You need to talk to Tully. I'm not talking to Tully. I got my lawyer. Does my lawyer want to talk to Tully?
right,
He
right,
doesn't, but he will if he has to.
right.
So, I mean, this is part of the story. I would definitely share it with those press members because they need to know what's going on too. Like, and they pick on you and Aiden and me and other people like us because, like you said, we're not MSNBC, we're not CBS, we're not Boston 25. Yeah,
They've got the money, they've got the attorneys,
yeah,
they've got the backing, and they would never go after those people.
exactly.
My behavior in reporting is no different than Ted Daniels. On the contrary, I should mention, I was the only person live tweeting aside from Grant, right? That was my preferred method way in the beginning, all during pretrial. Now Sue tweets. I saw her yesterday and I said, I'm really proud of you. You're doing a great job tweeting. She was not tweeting when she was originally covering these cases. Ted Daniel has clearly taken that on now, and he understands that's the way people want to consume this trial if they're not actually watching it. And even if they are, they want the supplemental version through Twitter or X. So, I've done my job professionally. I've done nothing that should make me a target other than, what they believe is my support of Turtle Boy or Karen Reed. And again, people don't know how I feel about Aiden. I was on his blog. If there's anybody, I have more of a reason to not like him than anybody. He made my life really miserable back in 2020. But
And
I have respect for him right from the beginning. I believe in free press. I believe in letting people make decisions based on what they read. We're adults, Mike. You should be able to say what you want. And if people don't like it, they don't have to watch this. There's nobody forcing them to watch your live stream right now. And there's nobody forcing them to agree with you or like what you say. They have the choice. We should give people choices on how they consume whatever they want. And that's the problem I have with like these other people. Even Grant inadvertently is basically making it so that you don't get to choose what you hear by
exactly,
trying
that's what
to
he always wants to
control.
do.
Yeah,
He tried to do that with I had an award show for cannabis workers, for workers who were getting screwed. A worker died. I
right,
gave the mom of the dead worker an award that night. I gave other people that were helping out awards that night. This dude went around and called my sponsors. He went around and like called guests on the show that were coming on, like tried one of the, like, it's so funny because it almost never worked. I think it worked with one sponsor actually. And it's like, it's good to know who are the idiots. But
right.
most of the time it created more support. Like, because the
Yeah,
people he would try to get us not to come on the show, they would come on the show and then they would actually give us a donation. Like, it was
right.
like, dude, just for putting up with the craziness of that guy. So I just think it's great that you stood up on this and that you're going to push back on them.
Mhm.
And I think the big thing is people need to support what you're doing. Where can they, like, you're on Twitter, X, where can people follow you and support you?
So obviously my Twitter handle is Just Machado Show. But Fall River Reporter is the place that I would like people to follow. My goal is to build us up to 10,000 followers within the next couple of months. When I started covering, so I wasn't even on Twitter for a while. We weren't using Twitter. My company had it. We weren't using it. And I was like, this is where it's at. I took over. We had less than 500 followers. Today we have 5,500 and it's only been a couple months. I would really like to see that grow. That's my job, is to keep my platform open and accessible so people consume news. So Fall River Report is how it's listed, Fall River Report. But if you go to me, Jess Machado, it's in my tagline. And we're also on Facebook, Fall River Reporter. New Bedford Guide is our sister media station, so to speak. They're probably twice the size as Fall River Reporter because they've been around a little longer. But New Bedford Guide, Fall River Reporter, and we're online, fallriverreporter.com, newbedfordguide.com.
Awesome. Someone was posting that Melanie Little had also been threatened. A lot of people have been threatened too. Like, the trolls are just out of control.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how many, they go after the women a lot. They go after Brandy Churchwell as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's been out of control, and I think we all got each other's back. So, I think that's the big thing here is that there is kind of the locals know what's up. The locals really know what's up at this point. Um, despite
You
all the
don't have
threat.
to take it though, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, like if anything, like just do what I'm doing. Fight back. Even if it takes a day, go file your paperwork, go to the police, file that report, create a paper trail, and just be proactive now. Everybody has seen the cards. We see the MO, we see how they work, we see how Grant works. Be proactive. I will not get caught off guard by Grant like that ever again.
Yeah, I've been definitely proactive, though. My big thing is just exposing them. I mean, that's
Right.
what I've done over like basically 2 years. I was all alone. And now
Not
the whole
anymore, Mike.
now the whole world knows. So you know how I feel about this. Like when I 2, 3 years ago with Grant, there was everyone was like, Mike, what's your problem? What's your
Right.
why do you have a problem with Grant? He's so nice. Now nobody says that. So
Right.
I mean, it's
It must
true.
have been hard
I'm
for
a
you to
living
kind of
proof of
be
it.
out there, right, by yourself on this?
No, no,
No?
because I don't give a shit. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not like, I've walked away from so many situations that have been bad.
Mm.
Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I will call it out. And that's why, like, I find when you do that too, you attract similar people.
Mhm.
Like, you may only get one of them, but they'll be a solid person.
Right.
So that's the other bonus to it. Like, it just, you do the right thing. So my thing, like even my partner, she didn't want it to be my life to be fighting Grant though. That was
Right.
the issue. So I had to like pick my spaces and just kind of like
Right.
you're gonna have to deal with here with him.
Right.
But I think the great thing is that there is, like I said, the whole world is watching. Like everybody knows. You don't have to explain it. It's just
Right.
like, I throw a meme up, I throw a picture of him up now. People know. Like, and I almost feel bad about it now because it's like am I getting too much joy out of his failures? Like, it's just
Yeah, I
that's
turned the
sort of the
corner last night into today. Yeah,
yeah.
it's, no, no more. I can't. And I think it's hard to discipline yourself to like be like not sympathetic anymore. But I mean, I'm maybe in a little while after the burn is worn off after what he did, maybe I don't know if it'll ever change my mind. But right now, absolutely just no, I'm not relinquishing anything on this.
Mm.
I'm not doing it.
No, I
No
don't
way.
blame you. Like, I think that he has to be disciplined. He's a child that was never disciplined. It's obvious. Like, there's something wrong there, and totally that sometimes that is love, actually, discipline. I mean, when they need it. So, I mean, and I'm not saying I have love for Grant. Obviously, I don't.
Right.
I don't want the hate to consume me. I don't have hate for the dude. I just feel like he's got
Yep.
some issues, and he needs desperately to get some discipline because he's done horrible shit. And I wish he would own up to all the shit that he's done to people. That's what I would love to see. I would love to see Grant be like, you know what, I did a bunch of shit, and I'm really sorry, and I'm going to spend my time making up to people. That is the only way Grant could come back. And the reason I say this stuff too, a lot of times people have to realize Grant listens to everything I say. Grant is listening right now. Grant has always tried to impress me for some reason.
Mm,
And that was like his biggest thing once I turned on him because I was not going to take it anymore. You know what I mean? I
mm.
gave him hard love, and I'm not putting up with abuse from people. It's just not going to happen. He
I
tried.
also think too, we have to, so say, he gets charged with this and nothing happens. He gets a slap on the wrist. At least it sets a precedent for the next time. There's documentation in a court system with police that this has happened so that the next time he does it, now we're looking at like a pattern or a history of behavior that is illegal against the law, whatever, and a pattern of how he's treating people. And the internet is one thing. We can all talk about the behavior on here. Aiden can post all day long. Grant acted like this and take a video. But unless it gets moved from the internet to real life and people are held accountable, does he get owned in the comment section every day?
Very
Yes.
much.
All the time. People own him all the time. I used to when I was engaging, right? That's not real life. And it continues the behavior. It has to leave from this screen and go out into the real world. And he needs to be held accountable. And even if it doesn't stick, I did my part. And then the next person he does it to goes. And then they do it. And we keep going. If he's done it to you, go to the police. That's it. Take the report, get the paper trail.
Awesome. I'm glad you did it. Apparently some trolls are in our chat, which is
Oh, really?
I
Tell
don't
me.
really care. I haven't seen them, but people are complaining about them. I
Okay.
just, if people have a problem with a troll account, just block them. That's the easiest way. I don't
I
really
love
care.
trolls, Mike.
Yeah, I kind of like the trolls. You know why? Because it shows how desperate they are. They have to come
Mm,
up on my chat, and all it does is give us more views. Like
love that.
the more comments. So like trolls are just helping us, people. You like it,
Yeah.
you just laugh at them, how desperate they are to be on my chat right now. And keep in mind, they have to subscribe to chat here.
Do
So
they?
they're subscribing. Someone said it's spam though. Well, I haven't seen it. We
I
do have a
can't.
moderator, MJ. I didn't tell her about the show. This was last minute. We just booked this like we weren't planning on doing this until like last minute. So
I just saw somebody say, I love your briefcase, OBX all day. I have to tell the story. There was our council on aging over here had a yard sale last year, and it was like open house come in, and they had 5 Coach bags for sale, and they were $5 each, including my Coach briefcase. And I insisted that it was impossible that they were going to let these go for $5, and 2 Gucci bags, by the way.
oh
And
boy.
I literally had $100 bill in my wallet, and I took it out and I bought everything they had. And that's been my briefcase ever since. So I got it for $5, and it's a real one. I used to work for Coach back in the day. I'm sure all the trolls will love to go look into that. I was a manager for them at South Shore Plaza, but it's a real Coach briefcase, and I love it. So thanks for saying that.
All of us guys just tuned out when you started talking about Coach bags and
I know, but all my mom gang that are on here, they love it.
oh, they
I
do.
have a
They're
community of
already
moms.
commenting.
I
They're
love them.
commenting here. They love your
I
bags.
love
And
the moms. I feel like, not to exclude men, because first of all, without men, America is doomed.
we even haven't. We look at this OBX all day.
I love her, whoever that is, OBX. And I vacation
She's
in
got an
OBX, by
account
the
called.
way.
That's her account too. That's her account name.
Oh,
OBX.
love it. But
Yeah.
the women on here in particular, I think have been wonderful. I know it probably doesn't sound right, but I like mentally connect with all of these women that
Me
like
too,
connect with
actually.
me.
I like the
Yeah.
women. Don't get mad, guys. I like the women more than the men. I don't know why. The women, I have one. People are saying, Mike, you need more mods. I have one mod. She's a woman, MJ. Like, I should add, I may add a couple more. I don't know. I got to talk to MJ because I just like MJ. So, and she's
Yeah.
not always here. I don't even tell her what's going on. She's probably mad at me right now because I guess there were some spammers here. I don't even know what they were spamming.
I didn't see.
I'm gonna get yelled at by MJ. She should yell at me. It's okay.
She should. It's fine. I like the dads too, and the men in the community, especially around the Karen Reed thing. I think they're smart. I think they're great. Any one of the guys I can call daddy. I love to do that to trigger everybody.
Call me
Yeah.
no, don't call me daddy.
I'm going to Mike. That's it. It's Daddy Mike. You didn't
Oh
know?
my
That's it
god.
going forward.
No, 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 no,
100%.
no, no. There's only one daddy to me. No, I see if I say it now, like they're gonna get weird on me. I'm not gonna
Why
say
is
it.
it so weird? First of all, like
Go
daddy's a
ahead.
thing. Like people use
Yeah,
it all the
yeah.
time. Yeah. So, but I think the whole community is great. Even the trolls, that's fine. People can have differences of opinion, but I mean, there's nothing like the Karen Reed community,
But
honestly.
you're trolling back with the daddy thing. I love it. That's
Oh,
good.
always. Yes.
So we figured out one thing. Jessica doesn't fuck around. Like that's what we try
Yeah. No.
not to swear tonight, but we're swearing because
Well, I
it's
would
the
ask you in
truth.
the beginning, and I was going to say, like,
You're
I
more hardcore
encourage.
than even me. Like I'm a hardcore dude. Like you know, with
I
Grant
cleaned up
anyways.
my act for a little while, Mike, but like you can take the girl out of the river. I'm from Fall River, but you can't take the river out of the
Are
girl.
you
Yeah.
like me that like you got like I don't know about you guys, but I was talking like when Kevin was challenging me, I got so fired up. I wanted to fight the dude. Like, swear to God, like I just like going back to my wrestling days and all that shit. And like I've gotten in so many, like I thought about it, like before age 12, how many fist fights I got into when I was a
Really?
kid. Oh, I would if there was a bully, I'd punch him. Like if he was picking on some kids, I would be like, all right, let's go. And I would get my ass
Really?
kicked. Like half the fights I got into, I got my ass kicked. Like,
Really?
I'd be that dude. Like there was one time where there was a couple, my brother and a friend who was younger than both of us. So two younger kids. My brother was one of them. And we were all we were skating on my friend's uncle's pond. And these other kids came along that were older and stronger. And they said they were going to play ice hockey and they kicked us off the pond.
Mm.
And my friend said, no, I'm not leaving. And they pushed him. And so then I jumped in and the kid just kept beating me and I kept getting up. And the kid ran home like a mile to his dad's house and his dad drove down. And by the time his dad drove down, I was still getting up. and I had 2 black eyes and a bloody nose.
No.
And when I went to school, they thought I got abused. They thought my parents did it.
I
And then my
ain't gonna
parents
look at
told them
you
who
when
did it, and the teacher had a story about the kid that did it. So the teacher was like, "Oh my god, I know that juvenile delinquent. Oh my god." So it became a story around the school, even like, "This kid is crazy. He just kept getting
scrappy,
up. He
very
just kept
scrappy.
like." Fall River, did you get in a lot of fist fights when you're growing up with the
So
girls?
I have a twin sister. I don't know if anybody knows that, but I have a twin. And we went to Catholic school growing up, if that should all make sense for some people. But I was the mouth and my sister was the brawn. So I would run my mouth and then my sister would do the fights for me. So on the way home in patrol in our Catholic school uniforms, I would run my mouth and then my sister would beat the crap out of him. It worked perfectly. I'm a weakling. I can't. People were saying you could take Grant. I can't. I can't do it. I don't know what it is. But as far as like conversations and running mouths and arguments like this, all day long, especially when I'm not restricted with my job or like I can swear,
Verbal assassin.
I will decimate
Yeah.
somebody. Yeah. If I could and had no restrictions, I'd have Grant crying in a corner. I'm not kidding you. I know exactly what to say to that
Oh,
guy's
yeah.
face to
He would
make
get
him cry.
easy.
Yes.
I always wonder what will happen if I run into that dude.
A lot of people aren't confrontational. If I give him any credit,
Yeah,
he's fine with the confrontation. I
yeah.
know a lot of uh
He knows I'm not worried about it. I mean,
right,
I've done the ambush videos of people, so I'm not.
right.
I mean, like I said, I gotten probably 25 fights before I was 12. The funniest thing is you get into a fight with a kid, and the next thing you know, the next day you're best friends.
Really?
That's happened so many times. You get in a fight with a kid because then they respect you. They're like, "Oh,
Right.
that kid, even if you win or lose, like doesn't
Right.
matter." Like so it's so
I
funny.
wouldn't know. I was
Yeah.
too scared.
I
I would
grew up
always
in a
call my
tough,
sister to handle it.
they think it's like where that town is now is very like rich where I grew up, but like I grew back then it wasn't. And the street I grew up on was like the slum street. It was like
Oh,
all
yeah.
trailers and like even the whole like what do I say? How do I say this? The section of town, like
Mhm.
it's actually a village that was like where all you know, the tougher kids lived.
Scrappy
Let's put it
kids
that
hung
way.
out.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the kids that would rub your face in the snow.
Yeah. I grew up in a project in Fall River. That's
There
where
you go.
I grew up to start. And my sister and I were called Spick and Span when we were twins because we were always dressed nice and clean. But yeah, I had a mouth. My sister had the fist. It's still a running joke. If my sister takes her hoop earrings off and puts her hair in a scrunchie, you're getting a beat down. That's,
Yes.
even to this day,
We're definitely getting blocked on YouTube tonight. We're talking about fights tonight.
metaphorically speaking,
No, I'm the one
metaphorically.
who went off. So I want to thank you again, Jess. We
Thank
do
you.
have to wrap this up. At
Thanks,
7
Mike.
p.m., we have attorney Mark Betterow, different stream. I want everyone to check that out tonight as
Yeah.
well. I want to thank you so much for coming on, Jessica.
Thanks,
Fall
Mike.
River Report on
Yep.
Twitter and Jess
Just Machado
Machado
Show.
show on
Yes.
Twitter, X.
Thank you
Everyone
for
follow.
letting me tell this story, Mike. Thank you.
And we support you 100%. Like I think everyone does. And it's just ridiculous. It's come to this, but thank you for standing up for everybody, like all the press, because it's ridiculous what's going on.
You got it. I think it's going to make a change. If not this time, it'll happen soon.
Now, last thing, we talked
Yes.
a little bit about the jury. I don't want to say any specifics about the jury, but you
Yes.
feel like there are jurors paying attention and they are figuring out what's going on.
100%.
It's
Yes.
it's funny too because you brought up that about that one juror who was looking right at Brian Albert and she
Hmm.
seemed to know what's going on.
Hmm.
Um, if they think you're like let's just hypothetically say like the state police is looking at this like, oh, she's jury intimidating. Well, wouldn't that mean that the McAlberts are the ones that would seek revenge? Because
Well, the
like
jury
are
is
they
not
saying that
allowed
McAlberts
to.
are violent? Is that what they're saying? That
Well,
McAlberts are
no, the
violent?
jury would never know about my tweets because they're
Yeah,
not allowed to look at anything.
yeah.
They're not allowed to look at the press. So they are not. They're isolated. So I never thought about that, but I just know that they can't see my stuff. So if other people think I mean, nobody in that jury has ever made eye contact with me or anybody. They're focused on the case. There's a couple I think that are a little fatigued, but many of them are paying attention. I mean, at another time I could go into it. I'm probably going to be there tomorrow, so I can get some more observations, and I can always circle back with you and give you some more. But there's some people I think that are more attentive than others. some people making those movements with their heads, yes, when they're hearing something. And then there's some people that are just listening.
See, the only ones that would be upset by that reporting are the McAlberts. They're the only
Perhaps.
ones that would be upset at the jurors. So, like,
Yeah.
if they hear that, so I'm just wondering, do the state police think the McAlberts are violent? Because
I mean, again, I'm the only thing that's making me feel a little bit more comfortable is if it was a true concern, I believe somebody would have notified me or
oh
my
yeah,
employer and
that
said to take
it's
them down.
nothing. It's
Yeah.
nothing. They're not, and if they do, it would blow up in their face. Like it would just.
I'm just gonna let the process work and see what happens. I mean, I'm sure everybody has a reason to not trust the state police these days if you're following this trial. But I actually do believe most police officers are above board and professional. So I have faith. My whole life, the way this works, while it looks bad, the truth always comes to the top. You just sometimes have to wait it out. So we'll just let them do what they need to do, and that's it.
Attorney Mark Betterow apparently was listening. I posted a comment earlier. One of our listeners he says it's nothing, so don't worry. So we'll ask him about that later tonight too at
Oh,
7.
good. I'll be listening and watching.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here tonight, Jessica.
Thank you very much, Mike. You do a great show.
And good luck tomorrow at court.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We're the Young Jerks, and this is Mike Crawford. I just want to thank everyone for being here early. I didn't plan to do a show today at 5:30, but had to do it. We had to discuss that. I want to thank Stony for sending a super sticker. I want to thank Tanya for sending $4.99 as well on the super chat. We got 2 super chats. And I also want to shout out some of the some Venmo money that came in this morning. I think Cash App too. Oh, we got another one. We got another super chat. We got a super chat. Dragonfly 1978 says Jess has to swear if she works in Fall River. I live in New Bedford and sadly swear like a sailor. You missed her. Maybe next time. I want to thank Catherine, who sent $10 on the Cash App. Said, I wish I could give more. Thank you so much, Catherine. And Venmo. We got $100 donation this morning from Gene. Thank you so much, Gene. That was very generous of you on the Venmo. And from Gail, she also made a generous donation, $50. Amazing. She found a third party to do it. That's very resourceful of Gail. Thank you so much, Gail. She writes free Karen Reed. $50 donation. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to eat dinner, take out my dog, and we'll be back at 7 p.m. New stream. Make sure you check it out on the Young Jerk, 7 p.m. with criminal defense attorney Mark Betterow. We're going to talk about the testimony today. And one thing I'm going to say, tomorrow could be the big day. Tomorrow or Thursday. We'll see. Now, I'm not saying this is definitely going to happen, but do not be surprised if the prosecution screws up even more. So we'll see what happens tomorrow and Thursday. I mean, this is just unprecedented what's going on. I've never seen such a crappy prosecution of somebody for murder of a cop. 7 p.m. We'll see everybody